It's 2022, a brand new year. Hopefully this one is better than the last. We have here today Joshua John Miller, who is an incredible actor. You know him from Teen Witch, River's Edge, Near Dark, and You Thought Your Parents Were Weird, and so many others like The Willies. And he wrote The Final Girls, which is incredible. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So did you have a good New Year?
Oh boy. Oh, this is a personal conversation.
It's an all around conversation.
That's okay. I better get comfortable for this one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it was. I mean, we were in the desert, and I go out to the desert. I was raised out there, so partly there in Los Angeles, and I mean, it was. How do I describe it? I mean, it was very lo-fi.
Yeah, that's good.
Partly because of COVID, but I think all holidays should be lo-fi.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. Yeah, my New Year's was just like I sat at home with my kids. We did a little bit of fireworks.
You have kids?
And that's
you look. How old are you?
I'm 34. I thought I was 35 up until recently, and then I went to the doctor, and he was like, "You're 34," and I was like,
"Wait. Wait. How did you find out you're younger? How does that happen? I want to go to your doctor."
I'm actually.
I want the doctor who tells me, "No, you're not 45. You're actually 35."
I went to the doctor, and I was like, I'm only 35. This shouldn't be happening to me. He was like, "No, you're 34." I was like, "Oh. Well, that's great."
Okay. You've been operating under the misnomer that I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I dated a director writer. She was probably the last woman I dated before I was more committed to my my homosexual journey. And I love the homosexual journey. Okay, that's just the weirdest thing I've ever said. I kind of think it is a good band name, and I think I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
But she her name was Amy Heckerling. We all know who Amy Heckerling is. I was 27. I never actually asked, but I knew she was a lot older than me because she did Fast Times at Ridgemont High, right? So she directed that movie. She wrote Clueless and directed Clueless. Madly in love with her. And she said, when it was like my 27th birthday, she threw me a birthday party, and she said, "Okay, now you're 27, and this is how you stay young in Hollywood. You now start counting. You stay 27 for 5 years, and then you start counting at 33 once a year. So then you start technically aging, but you hold at 27." The great thing about her is that she was, how does one describe it? She lived in this beautiful estate up in Holmby Hills, and she had pictures of Kafka everywhere in her house. And she only woke up at 2 p.m. and she slept all day. And the windows were, I mean, sometimes it felt a little bit like Sunset Boulevard, and because I'm the younger man, older woman, but she didn't ever let the sun in because she thought it was really bad for you, and it maintains your youth. And I've never talked about Amy at all, ever. This is funny to talk about, but she would sit in her kitchen. She wrote in her kitchen, and she was working on a new movie, and she would have all the Post-its and cards for the screenplay. And the cat, she was convinced that the cat was editing the movie while she was writing. Because when she came home back in the morning or afternoon, when she woke up, all the cards were rearranged in Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. That was my experience with Amy.
Wow.
What can I say? Oh, and then the time we took an edible, and we went to the Hustler store to buy a birthday present. I don't recommend having an edible and going to the Hustler store on Sunset Boulevard.
I've never been.
Dildos look really strange when you're on an edible. Not only just one, but piles.
Yeah,
of
like a gallery. A gallery of dildos. Well, how many milligrams did you take?
And I didn't ask, and that's the problem. This is why. And we had to go to a birthday party for one of my best friends. I'm born the day after Christmas, and he's born the 24th. And we get to the Hustler store, and remember the scene in My Own Private Idaho when all the porno magazines start talking back to the audience?
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies and one of the coolest scenes. It was like that. It was like all these Hustler models in various gynecological positions were having conversations with me.
Oh, wow.
So my advice to all is do not go to a sex bookshop while on an edible.
Wow, maybe take lower milligrams.
Okay.
Well, I think you took too much.
Announcement.
Yeah.
This is my public service announcement for the world.
Interesting fact, totally off topic from the porno store, but in Korea, babies are born, and once they're born, they're already 1 year old. Did you know that?
This is true. That makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a woman who just...
It makes sense. Why aren't we like that? That's so weird.
Well, I'm holding on to, I don't think about age as a number.
Right.
I live in Los Angeles, or what I call formerly known as Los Angeles, because now we live in this sort of dystopian, post-apocalyptic, overrun with crime and homelessness, LA post-pandemic. And I can't call it post-pandemic because I guess we're at the height of the pandemic again. Pandemic redux. So that's kind of how I feel about LA. It's a strange place right now. Anyway, I lost my train of thought.
No, I haven't really noticed. I feel like the pandemic, I'm in Texas, and I feel like the pandemic is like no longer existing in reality. Like it's everywhere I go. I don't see people wearing masks anymore. Like when I go to the grocery store.
That's because you're in Texas.
Exactly. Yeah. Nobody's wearing a mask. I'm not afraid anymore. I don't know. Maybe I should be, but I'm not.
Well, I feel like we're at that point, right?
Right.
This is probably really irresponsible to talk about, but I just kind of feel that we're at that point where, if you look at the song, there's a German health guy, big muckety muck in Germany, who said that by the end of 22, either all the unvaccinated will be dead, and or if you're vaccinated, you will probably have gotten it.
Yeah.
So, the reality is, it's just, we're all going to get it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying I'm going to a rock concert. Churches, a band that I love, which is really interesting. We wrote, my partner and I, Mark Fortin, wrote The Final Girls while listening to their first album. They, interestingly enough, were inspired by The Final Girls on their new album. And they've actually, Lauren Mayberry, she's talked openly about how so much of the movie influenced the new album, which is amazing.
Wow.
There's even songs called Final Girl and Scream and Queen and all these different things that are like homages to the movie.
That's incredible.
She performed like Bloody and like a Final Girl on the Run.
Yeah,
Super
maybe
cool.
by doing that, they were expecting you to write another movie inspired by their new album. So
that would close the loop, right?
Or maybe they're telling you to write a sequel.
We really want to write a sequel, but is Final Girls that well known to warrant a sequel for these platforms that can't think outside of their algorithms and sort of their very packaged ideas? It's got a huge cult following. Is it big enough? I don't know. Is it as big as Wet Hot American Summer? No. Right. But that took 10 years to do a sequel.
Well, it's different. This is a horror comedy, and there's specific fans of the horror comedy genre. And me, personally, I'm a huge fan of it. I don't know why. I prefer horror comedy over horror, maybe just because I
feel that way.
I'm a simple person. I love horror comedy. But, I think with a sequel, you could maybe even do like Camp Bloodbath or... I mean, who am I to give you ideas? But you could
No,
actually,
please, we can go make them. Go ahead.
what you could maybe do is invert the movie and make it about Camp Bloodbath in their reality, and outside of their reality is this other reality where people are from the real world. So it's the opposite, polar opposite.
That's cool. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. So maybe in Camp Bloodbath, they go see a movie, and whenever they go see the movie, it's the cast from the original Final Girls in that movie. You know what I mean?
That's trippy. That's trippy.
Yeah.
That's trippy.
I know. I didn't even take any edibles for that.
I think I mean, we have a really good idea for the sequel.
Do you really?
Talking to Todd. Yeah, we've been thinking about it for 5 years, I guess now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have it figured out completely from beginning, middle, and end.
Wow. So you just need to execute and write it.
That is a version, right?
Right.
Or we could actually, the problem is that you go to the producers and Sony, who all are behind it, but then they're like, but we have to go sell it to this platform or that platform.
Right.
So we have to convince the platform that the movie's worthy to have a sequel. And it's funny, today I was talking to the producer of it, and I was like, we should just write it on spec and take a gamble and roll the dice because we love it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a huge following, but I mean, just me having a social media platform where, I show off movie art and stuff. I've always gotten huge feedback from the Final Girls whenever I post something about it. So I know that in the horror community, it is a very relevant piece of cinema history, and we all love it. I've never heard anybody say that they don't love that movie.
Oh, that's really nice to hear.
Yeah. So what kind of inspired you to write that movie besides this album that you were talking about? Like, what gave you the idea to just be like, hey, I'm going to write a horror comedy? Where did the idea come from? Did you, read a book, see a movie?
Well, I can only take, credit for 50% of it being the co-writer. But my father, I grew up watching a lot of my family in the visual medium. My mom was a final girl. She was, she was the girl that she was one of the leads in Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, and she was kidnapped by this group of go-go dancers, vixen go-go dancers.
Wow.
Who,
sorry to interrupt you, but I'm actually working with Norman Reedus on artwork for Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. I've worked on a ton of stuff with them because they're Are
they actually making the show, or are they just developing it? What's the story? Is it happening?
I don't know. I can't talk about it. I don't know. I just I'm just making artwork for them. So
Well, very cool.
Yeah.
So my mom was a final girl in that movie, and she was also a final girl in a lot of movies. These sort of B-roll films.
What's your mom's name?
Sue Bernard.
Oh, okay.
Actually, she's Quentin Tarantino is obsessed with this movie she did called it was made under the title The Real Thing, but now it's called Teenager. But Quentin is going to be talking about it on his podcast, so I don't want to maybe preemptively talk about it because I don't want him to be mad at me because he's a new friend and I want him still to like me.
Absolutely. Yeah, who wouldn't?
And he's super cool. That being said, so I watched my mom sort of always run from danger as a kid in life and in movies.
Right.
Okay. So as a single mom in LA and Hollywood, I think it was always some variation of a man with an axe chasing her, metaphorically and literally. It felt like growing up, like Bad Stepfather, things like that. So I was always sort of related. And David Lynch says it best. He says he's always been interested in making movies about women in trouble. Mm-hmm. So I definitely always gravitated towards that, as does Mark. I think being queer has a lot to identification with that sort of sort of paradigm. And then specifically watching a famous horror movie and really connecting with it. My father played the priest in The Exorcist. He played Father Karras.
Really?
So, yeah. So I watched my father be possessed by the devil and thrown out a window to save, most of my life. And then my brother was the lead of Lost Boys. So my whole family, like, photo album is horror. But, my brother and I were not very close for a long time. So I would just see him in the movies. And then my brother's Jason Patric. And then my father is Father Karras in the most famous horror movie ever. So my connection to the idea of, like, experiencing your family in this two-dimensional space is been a big part of my life growing up. And my father was my grandfather was a photographer in Hollywood during the golden era. So images and our relationship to pictures has always been a big theme in my life growing up. Right. So when Mark and I wanted to write our first movie, this was sort of a no-brainer. And my father had died, I guess, a couple of years. No, actually a lot. He had died a while ago. But sometimes you find a way to tell a story about grief, not directly head on, but you sort of fictionalize it. And Mark and I came up with The Final Girls. And that was sort of combining the death of my father and also how weird it is to watch your dad die all the time on screen your whole life.
Wow. What
the
is
most
that
famous movie?
I'm so curious what that's like. Is it like, I mean, I guess you wouldn't know because you haven't known any other life, but I would imagine it being like home movies that everybody has seen. Like, I couldn't imagine like my home movies, just being projected to the entire world. It's such a weird thought.
I really love the way you describe them as home movies that the whole world saw.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting way to phrase it.
It's almost like we're in a simulation and your family is like, just like a huge part of this entire world that everybody knows about. You know what I mean? Like you're like I don't want to say like a tiger in a cage or something and everybody's walking in the zoo like looking, but it's like me.
I grew up so basically it's the Truman Show except scary.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, I guess. I mean, do you like that?
I'd rather be in the horror Truman Show than the regular Truman Show, right?
Right.
Did I like it? Oh boy, these questions are deep.
Well, before we talk about that, like whenever you're growing up and you saw your dad in these movies and your mom, and did your brother do The Lost Boys? Now, he was doing The Lost Boys at the same time you were doing movies, right?
We both did. I did Near Dark when he was doing Lost Boys.
Okay. Well, I mean, what was it like just knowing that your dad, do you even remember him being like this icon in the film industry and your mom doing stuff as well? Like, what was it like having parents in that environment? When you get caught carrying weed on an airplane, it goes in the paper if you're famous. So I remember a friend coming up to me at school being like, "Your dad's in the paper. Here it is. He's been charged with terrorism and drug possession." This was like in 1989 because he got mad at the stewardess because she was taking away his weed. What? So that's terrorism. And so once again, the Truman Show, you live publicly, right? Like, how many people find out in first period that their father is in jail from somebody else from a newspaper? So
so what is that like?
Whatever you could remember.
Remembering that moment of somebody seeing your father being exposed that way in a public way, let's say for their personal issues, was very wounding because what should be private was very public.
Yeah.
What should be protected is accessible to everyone. And suddenly this wound is now double wounded by not only the fact that your dad's going to jail, but that everyone knows about it and there's no privacy to process the experience.
Right.
This didn't happen a lot, thankfully, in terms of what it was like watching my father grow up. My dad and I were not that, once again, another person in my life, we were not that close till I was able to drink. So when I was able to be 16, because that was when I decided I was old enough to drink, then I could hang out with him. Until then, I really only knew my dad as a fictional person in a way. He was this fictional character in many ways because he was very much wanting to be on his own, not be a dad, and just live and hide from the world. So movies became, like you said, my home movies, my ways to access my father.
Right. So whenever
the way people watch home movies when their loved one dies, or they look at their phone, or they look at Instagram stories for people they care about, or they creep them, it's the same kind of thing. The images were a way to have a conversation with my father. So
whenever you were feeling like you needed to connect with your dad, you would reach out to the movies that he's been in and kind of watch them and just.
I think there was a lot of that. I think there was a lot of that. But also, I grew up. He was, such a wild card and so high all the time that you never knew where he was. So I spent a long time trying to always find him and see where he was and kind of hunt for him. And that's a whole other, a lot of psychological challenges that you have to heal from something like that. But in terms of the answer specifically, having your father be in these movies, it was simultaneously consoling, but also mind-bending, as you were, sort of referring to a little bit, because I think what it does give you in a way is that when you grow up in a situation like that, you kind of realize that, well, while many people are having sort of a life in a kit life that's sort of pre-packaged, preordained, I immediately was brought up to think outside of the margins,
right,
or in the margins, and not in the center. And I just sort of developed a kind of awareness to look for the things that are not there and look for ways to navigate the world in sort of unconventional ways that fit who I was, as opposed to me trying to tailor myself to the world. Because I think when you're raised with such unconventional sort of paradigms, your brain is formed that way, and your tastes are formed that way, and your relationships and all of that. I don't know if any of that makes sense, or if that's super abstract.
It does.
Or I'm back in the hustler porn store. I don't know.
So when did you decide?
It's like in a way, just real quick. It's like my mother was Jewish, my father was Catholic. Mm-hmm. Having to grow up with two sides, already you start to think in a non-binary way.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine.
You already are open to thinking about sort of these ways that two things could coexist and still mean something and still be a value, as opposed to it has to be binary.
Yeah. Are you religious at all?
No.
Yeah, me either. I was, whenever I was a kid.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, I grew up Christian, and I found out that the only reason that I would go to church is because my parents were trying to impress my father's dad, so my grandfather. So that's the only reason we were going, and I didn't know that. And I remember when my dad's mom died, I stopped believing in God. And I remember a lot. Before that happened, I would pray, or I would say, I would pray all the time. And once that happened, I started writing. I was like, I don't believe in God anymore. And I started writing a story about how I don't believe in God. And I was 12 years old. And that's when I decided I wanted to be a writer. I love writing. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's a great escape. I mean, you could create your own landscape, your own world, and just disappear within that story for even just the smallest amount of time, which is fascinating, I think.
Yeah.
And I also think, writers don't get enough credit, honestly. Like in the film industry, I feel like writers don't get a ton of credit, which they should. But when did you decide that you wanted to start acting? Was it just from seeing your father in these motion pictures, or did you just kind of get dragged into it?
Gosh, I mean, I just needed to perform. I don't
Yeah.
even know why. I mean, I was really into musicals. I really always wanted to be a singer. I can't sing. I've tried. I mean, I can I've gotten better after like hours and hours and hours where I can at least go to karaoke. But the truth is, I mean, I don't think sometimes why you do the things you do,
Right.
or what is like, and is that the, what prize are you getting by knowing? I mean, I don't think there was any sort of germane reason other than I just like to put on shows in the backyard and perform. I mean, and it's not something as elementary as like, I wanted attention and my dad wasn't there. It's none of that. I just think that I was an expressive little kid who just I love the feeling, the kind of high that I got from performing and expressing something of myself to people that were basically forced to watch me. I mean, I would literally bring a record player into people's homes, plug it in, get the record on, let the needle drop, and then I would just perform cabaret from like the first number to the last number. I mean, this is what I did. I was just obsessed with, I love music. I love the way it made me feel, and I didn't even understand why. So I don't know how that segued to film and television, but eventually that's where I got.
What was your first role? Was it River's Edge?
The first movie, River's Edge, yeah.
Yeah. That's a hell of a movie to jump into a career with I mean, Keanu Reeves. That's a deep story. Like, it's hard to watch for me anyway. I don't know, but it's really good. But I mean, man, you're in so many good movies. I mean, Teen Witch, obviously, huge cult following for Teen Witch. Yeah. I remember the scene, I think this is in Teen Witch, where you walk into your sister's bedroom and you're like wearing a bellboy outfit, and you like bring her breakfast in bed and then the newspaper. I think it's her homework, and you're like, I just ironed your homework. Your parents are like, is he on drugs?
My brother sends me gifts of this every couple of weeks.
Oh, I bet he does.
Yeah. The interesting about River's Edge, a little interesting anecdote about it. It was Corey Haim playing that role.
Yeah.
And Corey was having trouble.
Really?
And I had really wanted to be in that movie. I had won an award earlier that night. There was something called the Youth in Film Awards, which was basically the Oscars for people under 18. And they did it every year. And they had a nominees luncheon. They had an event at the Coconut Grove at the Ambassador Hotel where, Robert F. Kennedy was shot. With the red carpet, you would go in a limo and go down the red carpet with the paparazzi, do interviews, and then into an award show for people under 18. I mean, talk about like weird, mind-bending experience. I mean, I'm like, how am I even alive? Anyway, so, it was just like, it was this like, and to me, it was like the most glamorous thing in the world because I would see Gary Coleman. I would see Punky Brewster. I would, I was fixed up on a date with Soleil Moon Frye. And we hosted the Youth in Film Awards many years after that. But I was like, these are the people I was watching on TV. They were these fictional characters come to life, like you were talking about. But you go to this thing, and I had just played a role where I played a kid who was dying of cancer. It was based on a true story. It was the 2-hour premiere of Highway to Heaven, and Karen Black, one of the greatest actresses in the world, was at our table, and she was and her son Hunter Karsten, who was in Paris, Texas, was originally cast in River's Edge, but he bowed out, and they were friends with Dennis Hopper, obviously the whole Karen Black connection. So I'm giving you all this trivia because it's kind of fun, and you probably circuitous maze like stuff.
I love it.
So Karen became best friends with my mom. And she said, Hunter's not doing this movie because I think it's too dark for him and too dangerous. And Hunter was already kind of a brat, and I think she wanted to keep him out of this movie. She didn't want him to be in a movie where he was shooting people with a gun, driving cars, and cussing and smoking weed all at 13.
Yeah.
My mom was like, my son's perfect.
And you were already used to all this.
I was.
You were taking edibles and going to see dildos and.
In my mind, I was.
Yeah.
In my dreams. So, yeah, and she's like, you have to go out for this movie. And I read this movie, and my mom had the taste because she was an artist herself. And she's like, you have to be, and this is going to be an important movie. It's Dennis fucking Hopper. I don't know if I can say the F word, sorry.
No,
it's
you can't.
Dennis Hopper. It's Dennis Hopper. It's about a group of kids who are apathetic about their best friend having murdered their friend.
Right.
And it's going to be about where we are as a culture in the world, in America, and the sort of the state of apathy that we're at in the era of, the Reagan era. And my mom got it, and I got it. And she's like, you have to do everything you can to go and get this role. So I must have auditioned 10 times. I did not get it. They went with Corey Haim. He was a bigger star at the time, but my mom kept calling and being like, well, are you shooting yet? You gotta see Josh again. No, we have somebody. And then eventually Corey didn't deliver. And they said, is Josh available? And I was like, I'm there.
I can't believe that's awesome. That it's kind of like the Back to the Future story, where Michael J. Fox came in last minute and I can't remember his name. The other guy.
Eric Stoltz. Yeah. I feel so incredibly bad for that guy because Some Kind of Wonderful is one of my favorite. He's had an amazing career, and he's got a huge directing career now. And he's not only that, he's one of the kindest people in the world.
Yeah.
I owe him money. I just realized he's one of the kindest people in the world. He is so generous, so good, such a good heart. And I'm so glad he got to be the Eric Stoltz that he is. So it's good that he was in the movie.
Yeah. But how did you feel as a new child actor replacing Corey?
I hate that name child actor. You know why?
I'm sorry.
No. It's fine. I'm just why I hate it? Because it always conjures tragedy.
Right.
Well, it always conjures.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that one. He's still
that's just the media.
That's the media. Up that 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Well, the truth is most of them did.
Right.
And then you have a whole group of people that didn't.
Well, you have these kids who are acting and they're around adults all day. So they feel like an adult at that point. And I feel like as an actor that young, you start to relate more with the older generations. And whenever you're hanging out with the younger kids, you're like, I'm over this. I'm not here. This isn't where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be.
Which is a good and a bad thing, because most kids are losers when you're that age. Do you know what I mean? And adults are cooler, right?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Who doesn't hang out with adults?
Right.
Especially if your friends are just wanting to play with Star Wars figures, which, by the way, I did too. But I also was making Near Dark. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you could have both, but I think the downside of it is that a lot of people they grow up too fast, right? All that cliche of your clock is sped up and you can't quite hold all of that energy, the velocity of maturity that your little body can't contain, and so you just explode. The thing is, I never became that famous, so I didn't explode. And I was not like a kid. I was not Kirk. I was not, I don't know, Jeremy Miller or Jonathan Rhys, whatever that guy's name is that died. Sorry, not to be insensitive, but I didn't have that superstardom where you're just a fucking comet and then you just burn out. My mom protected me, and I did a couple of movies, and then I just went back to school. So I had I had a little period of it, and that was it. Thankfully. Yeah. And that fucked me up enough.
Whenever you were in school, what was that like, being around other kids? Did they know that you were who you are?
Of course. I was always in something. There was always, at that point, so many movies were getting made. So I was always had a movie out every other month. Terrible movies, but they were always out. For a period of 4 years, I was either on a show, a movie. And most people were supportive, and then you had all the jocks or other people, the version of the jocks. My jocks were the drama nerds. They were the bullies. I got bullied by the improv dudes in drama school in high school.
Well, that's because they were jealous.
Of course they were. And
let's be honest.
I didn't know it then.
What do you want to say to them right now?
What do I want to say to them?
If you could say it to them right now.
I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to talk to them.
Yeah, no. I love that so much.
I remember their name. I remember their names. I remember their names.
Of course you do.
First and last.
Yeah, so do I.
I have creeped Facebook to make sure they have gone nowhere. And I am right. They have gone nowhere.
You know what I hate? I hate when people reach out to me from high school that I went to high school with, people that I never hung out with, that never paid any attention to me. They reach out and they want to be friends with me on Facebook. First of all, I don't use Facebook, so stop reaching out and stop trying to be my friend. Second, we never hung out. So I don't know you now. I didn't really know you then. I went to school with you. It's like working, high school was like working at a mall. There's like a ton of people there, but you don't talk to every single person. Everybody's just doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, I just put stink bombs in malls and that was my mall life, and going to the Cineplex Odeon theaters and seeing everything with my grandmother and going from one, like literally La Cage aux Folles. I'm 11 years old, probably shouldn't be seeing a movie about French three-ways, and then I would drag my grandmother to Friday the 13th, and like we would just go to the movies all day long. So I would spend most of the time either on a movie set, making a movie, or watching a movie, or being in school thinking I'd rather do those other two things. Did you
ever go to video stores at all?
I worked at a video store. That's how badly I wanted to be around movies.
What video store?
There was this place called Video and Audio on Larchmont Boulevard. And I was 10 years old. And I said, I have to work here. I'll tell you what movies to get. Because there were these two Persian guys who didn't know anything about American cinema. So there would be this catalog that came out every couple of weeks. And I would tell them all the movies to buy. And then I would sit behind the counter. And I said, dude, you don't even have to pay me. I just want to be here.
Oh,
but also
wow.
the
if you're good at something, don't do it for free, okay?
Right. And then I was like 11, 12 years old. I just wanted to do that. And also the great part is they had like an adult section, and I could sneak in and get those and bring those home and then circulate them to all my friends in school and then bring them back.
Wow.
So it was like a great life.
Your life sounds like a movie that needs to be written.
It is a movie. Yeah.
Sure. You need to write it and make it happen, because then we're going full circle.
Right. Oh, meta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, meta.
I wrote a novel. My first novel came out when I was in college, and that was very much about actually Near Dark, sort of a movie being made within the book, but it's all about my relationship with my grandmother. And that was like a love letter to her after she died. But it has a lot to do with acting as a kid and stuff like that. Not too much, although my partner's like, why don't you ever write about what it was like being a child actor? Why have you never talked about that? Why don't you ever really write a story about that? So eventually I will, because it's there. It just, I need to do my licorice pizza, I guess, right? Like my version of being what it was really, really like to do that. Because the 80s in LA, being a child actor, was a really exciting, really strange, wonderful, scary place.
Yeah, I can imagine. Wow. At the 80s. Wow. I mean, I was born in 1987. So I still rode my bike everywhere, and I didn't really play a lot of video games, but it's times were so different than what the newer generations are used to. Now it's nobody wants to ride a bicycle anymore. I don't get that. How does that
getting a bicycle was everything.
That was
not wait to get a bicycle.
Yeah, that's every single day.
Bicycle. I was happy with a tricycle.
Yeah.
I rode that thing like it was my spaceship to the world. But look, it wasn't that innocent, the 80s. I mean, you had the fear of the nuclear war. You had the fear of earthquakes in California. You had the Night Stalker.
The serial killers. Yeah.
Serial killers.
And oh my God. And the things that people used to be able to get away with. If you imagine being a serial killer in the 80s versus today, it would be so easy.
It would, yeah. Oh God, the Night Stalker, man, Richard Ramirez. I mean, that guy, I could not sleep for days. I was convinced he was coming for me, and I am not a 24-year-old brunette female, but I was convinced he wanted me.
Yeah, yeah. He
But
knew who
that
you
doesn't
were.
make sense.
Well, you know what's crazy
sense.
is he knew who you were.
Oh, don't say that.
Well, if you think about it, he'd probably seen some of your movies before.
That's really disturbing. We shouldn't even talk about that. I don't even want to have
That's
any connection
nuts.
to that.
See, that's what I'm talking about with like sharing.
He was listening to Madonna's "Like a Virgin" while he was like chopping people up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was
That's
probably
so disturbing and amazing.
Yeah, and he probably had Teen Witch on mute while listening to that, you know? And he's
Okay,
like,
now I just I don't know what to say about
what he was
that.
doing
Okay,
is he's
it's crazy.
oh, you know, but
So,
that's
I'm gonna throw up.
that's weird though. Like if you think about it, there's a lot of people out there that have seen you that feel like they know who you are, and there are like these killers out there or like psychopaths or whoever, like the president of the United States. It doesn't matter. They all know who you are.
Oh, I had a guy, he was a vet, retired vet. He was thrown out of the army, and he would, from the VA hospital, he would send me VHS tapes of him talking to me for hours upon hours with his, dead-eyed stare. And how he found my home address, I don't know. And those videos just came every week. He was literally Vincent D'Onofrio in Full Metal Jacket, like addressing me to no end. I kid you not.
Wow,
my mom was freaked out.
That's a really good role, and he's a great actor.
Oh, he's a great actor in that movie.
Dude, have you seen The Cell?
Yes, of course.
Dude,
Yeah,
I keep bringing up that movie on the podcast.
Not as good as Full Metal Jacket,
so
but
good. No. But still,
maybe they can't even be discussed in the same sentence because it's not fair. There's such different kind of movies.
They're different.
Right?
They're different.
You
Yeah.
can't even. It's not
You
fair.
know, I hate that. I hate when people try to categorize movies of different genres and stack them all together like it's a fucking pile
No,
of
you
magazines
can't.
at a dentist office.
do that.
That's not how you do it.
No, there's no equivalent.
You can't-
You have to address them from different angles.
Yeah, you can categorize them by decades, by genres. You know, you could be like my top 10 of the
Subgenres.
90s. My favorite horror comedy can't be my favorite just horror. And I don't think.
Exactly.
I think you have to categorize them together. You know,
Absolutely. There's just there's too much great stuff out there to sort of I can't distill my taste. Like
what's
that.
your
That's
favorite
ridiculous.
horror comedy movie?
Favorite horror comedy? God, I was watching Death Becomes Her the other day. It's so funny and camp,
so good.
and intentionally, like the dialogue. You're like, oh my God, Robert Zemeckis was so cool. He
Yeah.
really wanted to make a gonzo, like almost like a John Waters movie, horror movie. I mean, it's just over the top on every level. I think that's a masterpiece, but it's not my favorite horror comedy. My favorite horror comedy, but people might not say it's a horror comedy, but I think Gremlins is a horror comedy.
It is.
I think it's like amazing. And there's so much.
Give me your
more.
top
Poltergeist.
5. Give me your top
Poltergeist. How funny is Poltergeist for the first 30 minutes? Come on. It's fucking hilarious.
It's
When Joe
scary.
McWilliams is having so much fun showing, little Heather at work. Like,
That
that's really funny.
she's being playful.
Yeah.
I think what they're trying to do is show her as they're trying to portray her as a mom. You know, she's there all day with the kids and she has to be playful. So that's more realistic for her to be playful and excited. And, she's more childlike that way. So
sure.
that way at the end, whenever she's disturbed, everybody's like, oh, fuck. Like she was so happy now,
I know what horror comedies I don't like. You know what horror comedies is another genre? I think like The Hangover is a horror comedy. I feel like all of Todd Phillips' movies are horror comedies because I literally hate every single person in those movies. They are just the most hateful, nihilistic. It's cynical.
What
It's
about
cynical.
this one?
That's a masterpiece.
I love Joker.
Wait, no. Wait, you confused me. I thought, okay, you took the king of comedy and you gave it a Joker. Okay, I can't. I don't feel that way. I have a thing about Todd Phillips. I just don't.
You don't like it?
No, I don't. I don't like him. He sat across from me at a dinner once and just scowled at me.
Oh, no.
We were
Todd?
developing a movie for Robert Downey Jr. recently, and he just sat across from me and scowled.
Maybe he was like, damn.
Really wanted my number?
Yeah, well,
No.
maybe he like wanted your autograph.
No, he didn't. He just scowled for 3 hours.
Well, okay. Let's get back to horror comedy. Okay, so let me list some of mine because I love listing mine. Once Bitten, The Burbs,
So good.
My Best Friend's a Vampire, Fright Night, of course, that's a horror fucking comedy.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Ghostbusters, that's a horror comedy. Part 1.
Wait, have you seen it lately?
Yeah.
I saw it on the big screen. I'm sorry, I'm not going to yuck your yum, but I am going to.
No. Go ahead.
I don't think it holds up. I really don't.
With the original
and
or part 2?
The chemistry between the guys, part 1.
Yeah.
You see the chemistry between all the guys is really not there. They're all acting in their own movie. It's Sigourney's amazing, and Rick Moranis is amazing, and Bill Murray's amazing, but they're all like in different movies.
Right.
I'm just saying. It might hurt to watch it again. I'm just saying.
I watch it occasionally.
Okay, well.
But, to each his own. Like, so my best friend Drew, who I also do the podcast with, he hates Forrest Gump. He hates it.
Look at my list here.
I don't understand.
I hate that movie more than life itself.
You hate Forrest Gump?
More than you can imagine. And I love Zemeckis.
I wish he was here.
Love everything about Zemeckis.
Wow.
Early Zemeckis for sure.
Are you making a list of horror comedies right now?
I want to look up. There's this name of this thing that's on my mind. I got the name of it. I'm not a big Scream fan. Sorry, I know Kevin Williamson. I'm not a Scream fan. I think it's an amazing 20 minutes.
Yeah. Are you going to see the new one?
No.
You're not going to see the new Scream movie?
No.
Wait, are you not going to see it because you are...
Oh, I love Jennifer's Body.
Okay. That's a good movie. Yeah, that's a really good movie.
An underrated film.
It is. I just watched that
I like
recently.
a good female... Yeah.
I love that. I love Midsommar. How about Midsommar?
I guess I have not seen it.
You haven't seen it.
I know.
So well, I'm not going to say, but I made some artwork for Ari Aster, and I'm just like, I always make it because I love it so much. Like, I make new artwork all the time for Midsommar. It's such a good movie, dude.
The work you do is gorgeous and kind of stunning how you're able to create this stuff. It's so cool, and so you can almost touch it.
You can touch it.
But it's just like,
in the
images
pictures,
yeah, it's like just the details of what you do. It's really
I'll send you something.
I would love that.
Whatever you want.
Please,
just tell me your favorite movie. Actually, I'm going to do a VHS for the Final Girls. Right now, what I'm doing is for your 35 millimeter release, I'm making a poster for the 35 millimeter release. And what I'm doing is I'm holding a physical media object, and it's like the Final Girls artwork, and it's like really old looking, and it's inside of a scene from the movie.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
does Todd know about this? Have you talked to Todd?
Yeah. He asked me to do it.
That's so rad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm actually I think I'm getting Todd on the podcast soon to talk about.
No. There's only one member of Final Girls you can have on.
Well, he's been
on.
That
was before. Our deal. That was the contract we made. My agent said that this was the deal. You only get one, and nobody else follows.
Right.
On it.
Yeah. He's been on before. We had like a 3-hour conversation. But I think Angela.
I'm following Todd now. Oh wow. Okay. See, I'm just delete.
Well, I'm not sure. He didn't tell me to ask you to come on though. I don't know why, but I like.
Oh, because Todd's a director, and directors want to be all about themselves.
I think I was like watching one of your movies, and I reached out to you. I think that's what
I think
it was.
you posted something on Instagram.
And you started.
Like, this is really cool. And I think I started following you, or you started following me.
Oh, okay. So once you started following me, I was like, holy shit, this is incredible.
I was like, well, your stuff was really cool. And I was like, I'm going to follow you. I don't.
That's so awesome.
I don't just follow anybody.
But I think Angela is going to come on with Todd to talk about the 35 millimeter release. So if you want to come on too, I mean, if you enjoy doing it, whatever, you can come on too.
Now I'm going to be a third wheel. And
Wow.
Todd's episode? No,
Oh man,
this is my own episode.
Todd will take over that episode, and
Yeah, I'm not about to agree to do that.
nobody's going to get to talk.
Nobody.
I'm going to put my microphone on mute the entire time. Are
Look,
you going to go?
I love a good monologuist.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of some of the most most brilliant people monologue, but they also let you monologue,
Right.
and then you just kind of dance.
Yeah.
It's the great tango of like ideas, and that's like where it's magic, and I love that. So I'm okay with a monologuist if they share the stage.
Of course. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's important. And you're a writer, so your conversations are very important to you. I can tell.
It's everything. I live for like connection and experiencing things, and especially when you're talking to people who love the things that you love and new ideas and re-examining things that you love with someone else's point of view is like super exciting to me.
Are you going to go to the 35 millimeter
No.
showing? No.
Well, mostly, I wouldn't have gone anyway because I feel weird about going to like overly celebrate things that have already been done.
Right.
I like kind of just like focus on the present and new things, and you know, I don't know, there's that, but also just the idea of just like, I mean, it's a closed space with like, I don't know how many hundreds of people, and it's the pandemic's burning pretty hard, and it's next Monday, so I got to be honest, I'm not feeling that excited about going.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be in Tel Aviv right now for the next couple of months, but the border closed, so I wasn't planning to go anyway because I was going to be in the Middle East. But maybe I'm obligated to go because guess what? It's Quentin's theater. They're playing Final Girls with Teen Witch, so clearly it's kind of like a shout out to me.
Yeah.
Right. So
well, it's not kind of a shout out. It is a shout out.
So I think that would be like maybe a dick move not to show up.
Hey, what if I don't know if I should do this, but what if in the poster I also have like a VHS of Teen Witch in there as well?
Oh, that's some deep meta stuff.
Or would it be
that's an Easter egg, right?
Yeah. That would be kind of cool. I think I'm going to do that.
I mean, it's your art, man. That's kind of cool, right? That's interesting.
It is kind of interesting. So, wow. Now I'm all wrapped up in that. I actually have Teen Witch right here. Man.
What? Or VOA.
which brings me to ask you an important question, because I feel like if I were you, or I was, an actor from the 80s, 90s, I would have my movies on tape. Do you have your VHS movies?
My mom probably collected everything, so yeah, they're all somewhere in the archives. Absolutely. I probably need to.
But you don't have any.
But no, they're not. The archives are my archives, so yeah,
right.
I have them. But I haven't archived that part of everything. I've been moving and transitioning things, but now things are finally getting archived from, as you can imagine, there's a lot of dead people in my family with a lot of body of work, so I'm just in the middle of archiving all of that.
Yeah.
Not myself, but a group of people, because I want to continue to do what I'm doing, which is finish my new novel, finish the movie I just directed, get ready for the next movie, and focus on that.
Yeah. Are you following the same horror comedy path with your writing, or?
I just directed a movie that needs to be finished, but it wasn't finished because of the pandemic. And it's funny because, I can't talk too much about it, partly because I probably have some NDA that could put me in hot water, but it's called the Georgetown Project. It stars Russell Crowe. It's about an actor who loses his mind while starring in a movie. So it's a meta variation of things I like. And it's darker, but I want to bring even more comedy to it, but I don't know if that's the story that wants to be told there. But the movie's not finished yet. We're unfinished, unfortunately.
I want to ask for advice really quick.
Sure.
And since you're a writer and you're a writer in Hollywood, I feel like you would be the best person, especially this might be interesting for people listening, just because a lot of people that listen are into the entertainment industry and might have questions as well. My question is, let's say that you were a writer and you have a great story idea. You haven't executed the script yet, but the story's good. and this is about me. My ego is just going through the roof. I have an incredible story. I have a few actually. And I'm wondering if you can share those ideas or if you have to keep them to yourself. Like, let's say you're talking to someone that's in Hollywood, like let's say it's a director, whoever. Can you share those stories in confidence, or do you have to maybe have them published or submit them to like a writer's guild or something like that before you share? Do you ever worry about that?
I mean, I don't, it's interesting. This is interesting to think about. I mean, first of all, I think talking about your ideas too much defeats the purpose of making it.
Right.
It's like, why go make the movie or write the book if you've literally told everyone about it?
Yeah, because it's like they've seen it at this point.
Yeah, it's done, right? Like, what's the point? Okay, so that's first thing. Second thing is you got to have your brain trust. The people that you really love, the people that you really feel safe with tell you if it's good or not, right? They'll tell you this is a dumb idea, try something else. And that could be someone in the business or someone outside the business. I just think you have to choose the people. So I think you then decide, oh, this is a good idea. People like it. And then who fucking cares?
Yeah.
If people then go tell people in the business that you have meetings with professionally that are documented and for any legal potential issues that I had a meeting with Joshua Miller about this idea on January 3rd, 2022. And this is what we talk, like it's documented. God forbid Joshua Miller goes and makes your movie. Right. So that's the one way to protect yourself. But, I think it's important to talk to people about your ideas that you feel safe with. I think it's very unlikely people are it's just too hard to make movies these days, or just, and more now than ever. I don't think you're going to have an idea and then someone's going to go run it with it and you're going to see it on the screen.
Right.
I just don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I wish it was that easy.
Yeah. And, the execution is the most important part. I mean, an idea is an idea, but it's nothing without a body of work.
It's all about execution. And Charlie Kaufman always would talk about how he intentionally wrote incredibly complex original ideas because he felt they couldn't then be stolen. Mm-hmm. So who could still, he felt he had other things that were being stolen or used or exploited. So he just said, what can I write that'll be the most unique idea that if it's stolen, everyone knows it's me. Yeah. So that's birthed out of paranoia and out of like a great sense of like reaching for something that feels original and fresh. And he's, a master at that. A lot of people place so much emphasis on, well, I have an idea for Hollywood. I hope people will like it. Let me ask for permission to tell the story I want to tell. And I say, fuck that. You know what story you want to tell. Just go do it. And you're going to get 1,000 no's, and don't listen to any of those people and just go make the movie you want to make. That's the key. I mean, because everyone's going to note you to death and everyone's got a goddamn opinion. But what you need to do is find the thing that you are literally willing to stake your salvation on and make that. Don't make anything unless it feels like you're willing to stake your life on it. Otherwise, why are you making it?
What do you do?
I think Quinn talks about, if I don't want to take a bullet for the movie, why do I make it?
Yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense. I'm wondering so whenever you have a movie idea, do you pitch it or do you write it first?
Well, it depends. I mean, I would say it's better to write it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's better to pitch it. I mean, better to write it because then you are saying, this is what I want to do. This is my idea. This is my vision. Are you in or are you out?
Yeah.
When you pitch something, you then if you pitch something, suddenly everyone's developing it. Everyone's got an idea. Everyone's got this. Everyone's got this. And I swear to God, 9 out of 10, it's destroyed.
Yeah.
We created a TV show called Queen of the South that ran for 5 years. And the 5th season will come on Netflix. It always lands after USA onto Netflix. And it was about a female cartel queen who, basically hates white people. And, she's this killer. And at that time, 5 years ago, a Latinx female lead, nobody thought anyone would want. But there was a book we read. We thought it had a good idea as a basis for something. We basically threw away the book. The studio owned the rights, but we used the title and we created this show that was completely irreverent. And you know what? We did it just because we needed money at the time to fulfill our deal that we had with the studio. And then suddenly we were writing it. We're like, let's write a show that no one will ever watch. Let's write a show that will never get made. That is our dream fucking crazy show. Let's just write let's just do like a Latin Kill Bill, right? Now, of course, that never got to screen, but it did get greenlit, and that's why the pilot got made. And by the way, elements of that are what carried that show for 5 years and made it such a hit. It got watered down completely. It got destroyed by a dumb studio executive. It's just mediocre now. But we left way before that happened. But the thing is, we created it, and we wrote literally, what could we make that's so gonzo that will never get made that we love? And weirdly enough, 5 years later,
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you don't love it, then what's the point?
Yeah, but I think it has to be deeper than that. I think you have to be obsessed to the point of you will die if you don't do it.
Yeah. I'm having some issues. So maybe you can be my psychologist for a minute. So here's my problem. I have these great ideas. I just can't execute them on the page. Like we
just need a partner then.
Yeah, I've tried to get a writing partner. It's just I felt the people that I've chosen have tried to take full control of the project, and I'm like, no, I have like this certain idea of how I want it. But I guess that's a part of it. It's just like I'll sit down and I'll attempt to write, but then I'll disappear in thought, and I'll read it over and over. So I'll read it from the beginning, and I'll be like 20 pages in, and then I'll run out of ideas. You know what I mean? Like I'll just stop myself, and then I'll just tell myself like, I'll do it later. But I think that's a real problem. Do you ever get writer's block or do you have to force yourself into writing sometimes?
Yeah, and then you get going. I mean, I'm in the middle of there's a couple of things I want to address that you said. So the first thing is, I want to say here, I don't know how to write a fucking screenplay for the life of me. I hate writing screenplays. They are just a table of contents. They're an ingredient list. It is not an art form, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's not like prose. It's not like War and Peace. It's not at that level, in my opinion. It is architecture for a movie. To me, the author is the director, period.
Right.
Okay? And I don't see any point to ever write another movie that I'm not going to direct. I'm not interested in basically being, a bottom bitch for Hollywood, which I've been literally for 10 years, writing movies for other people, and I'm sick of it.
Right.
Thankfully, I got to direct a movie this last year, and I'm directing other stuff, but I'm writing a novel right now, and I'm having so much joy because prose are just, there's so much freedom in it, and you don't have to think about like the studio, and you have to think about all this stupid shit. It's like, I don't know, it's like my rock and roll. I have trouble with dialogue. I think that's where I pause. The architecture part, the details record
of
the
out, scenes.
Yeah, you're good at that. Well, I find a partner to help me. That's how I do it. Mark and I worked as a partnership. I like dictating. So if you don't like you might try actually like dictating on a recording just the scene.
Yeah. So record actual dialogue so it's more natural.
Just act it out.
Like this whole thing. This is dialogue.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. See, yeah, and I've started doing that actually recently. I've started recording certain conversations with friends, and of course I get their permission, but just to get that interaction. So that whenever I'm writing, it doesn't sound like a fucking Wes Anderson movie. You know what I mean? Like you know what I'm talking about. I love Wes Anderson.
The French Dispatch was so good. I just watched it.
Yeah. The dialogue is
that's arch.
Well, that's the kind of dialogue I write. And it comes out that way. And I'm like, I don't really want it to come out that way because he has that niche. You know what I mean? Like that's his style. I want to do my own thing.
Okay.
So it's just, I don't know. There's some people out there that are like the architect, they lay out the landscape and the details, which is what I love to do. And then there's some people that are really good with dialogue, like Quentin Tarantino is incredible with dialogue. I mean, he's like the king of dialogue.
But he's
Let's
an
be
actor.
Honest. He's also
he's
an actor. Yeah.
So he performs.
Yeah.
He's in it. He's just like riffing. So I think if you connect with the actor or think about, maybe take an acting class or an improv class to get you thinking like that more. That really helps too. I've done that even after having acted.
Yeah. I've taken acting classes. You know, I've had a few roles. I've done some stuff, and even then it's just like, I don't know. I just can't get it on paper sometimes. Like I can, but not a lot. It's like it doesn't spill out of me like the details. Like the details is like the money for me. Like if I could do an entire screenplay with just detail and no talking, I would be like on top of it. I would be done.
Well,
there's got to be like people that are like that are like me, you know, that just I guess those people have writing partners, and then one of them loves the dialogue portion and then the other person.
I would try recording your dialogue.
Yeah.
Performing it. It might feel more freeing and less like, you know, the margins might feel so like tightly in. You may have more freedom with. I've been dictating a lot while I've been writing my novel. I just hit the dictation button and I'm not typing it. I'm just like writing scenes by just talking them. And I like that. I feel like there's something almost physical. It's like when you sing, it affects you on a physiological level. And I like that. It feels authentic the same way writing in with a pencil does, because it slows down your mind a little bit and you're not like just on the computer. You get to think about what you're writing a little bit. You know, Joan Didion, God rest her soul, like she always loved to write longhand. It forced her to think about what she was writing more. And now we just, you know, babble away on a computer because we can type so fast. Yeah. So maybe try handwriting.
Imagine how good this podcast would be if we just texted the whole thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's way better with audio. I get that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's a really good idea.
Keep your body connected to the process. Let writing be physiological, not like have this computer between you and the page.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Another thing I found really inspirational was like doing like collage writing. So what I would do is I would find my favorite scenes from my favorite movies, and I would be like, okay, so why do I like this scene so much? And then I would try to integrate that into my writing and not copy it, but try to take that feeling that I get from that scene and portray it in my writing somehow.
I think that's a good exercise to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to steal and then make it your own, like any remix.
Yeah, like Quentin Tarantino was always people were always saying like, you stole this and this. And he's like, yeah, I did. He's like, because I loved it.
And he's just admitting it because we're all doing that.
Yeah,
all the time.
Exactly. That's, you know, it's the same with the music industry, with everything, which is
Warhol.
Yeah,
he just blatantly said, "Look, it's a can. I'm gonna just do this over the can. Ta-da! Art."
I gotta know, are you a Blockbuster Video or a Hollywood Video guy?
Blockbuster.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, there was a Blockbuster in Larchmont, and that caused Village Video and Audio to shut down. My home base. And I did not like that. And it was the beginning of the end of the mom and pop video stores going away to the conglomerates.
Yeah.
And I've always had a love-hate relationship with Blockbuster for that reason. Also, Blockbuster was built in the space of where the original movie theater in Larchmont was, and I would rather someone put a movie theater there than Blockbuster. And also, Blockbuster didn't have a really good selection growing up.
Yeah.
It was just mainstream mostly, especially in Larchmont, because the area is so kind of like family oriented.
Right.
It was like, you know, trying to find Super Vixens by Russ Meyer wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I just watched, and it's amazing.
I kind of wonder, like, I love B movies. I mean, I have a vast library of VHS tapes and tons of B movies that I love. Like 80s teen comedies is one of my favorite genres on top of horror comedy, and sure. I have a huge collection of that. But I remember going to Blockbuster when I was younger, and they would just have these big mainstream blockbuster movies. And I went there up until they closed. I would always go there. Yeah. And I wonder if that affected my taste in movies, because that's all that I was presented at the time. Like now I love
your brain.
Yeah, like Terminator 2 is one of my favorite movies. And
that's a great movie.
It is a great movie.
That's an amazing movie.
That's an incredible
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's a masterpiece.
Can I tell you a little secret?
Around the dome.
Guess who's coming on the podcast on Friday?
Who?
Terminator 2. The movie. No. Can you guess?
I mean, I don't know. You tell me. I don't know.
I don't know if I should spoil it. Oh, but you know what? By the time Edward Furlong. Edward Furlong is
amazing.
He actually so here's a little story.
He's so good in that movie.
He came on the podcast last year, and we had a great conversation. It was like 2 or 3 hours, and I forgot to record the entire thing. And so at the very end, I was freaking out. So my partner and I, Drew, he used to do the podcast with me always. And so he decided he didn't want to do like guest spots anymore, just because, he'd rather just do it, just him and I. And so this is the first time I did it alone. So I thought I had it, and I didn't have it. I dropped the ball, and I fucked the whole thing up. But he's coming back. He's coming back on Friday. He told me the sequels are better than the originals. Maybe I told him that, but one of us said that.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Debatable.
Yeah. But, like movies like that, blockbuster movies like Terminator 2, Jurassic Park, all these huge budget movies were just blasted. Like right when you walked into Blockbuster Video, they're right there in your face. They're telling you, this is what you're going to watch. This is your taste.
Yeah, on those screens.
Yeah, this is the movie that you love. And it's brainwash. And I love that. I love that. Don't you love being brainwashed when you're a kid?
It made me think of when you were talking about how you're a Christian, and then my grandmother became a reborn Christian.
Yeah,
she became a reborn. Well, yeah, I was a Jew for Jesus. I got baptized in Bel Air. That's my shtick. No doubt, it was the guy whose house it was. He produced Saved by the Bell. My grandmother was going to this. She was losing her eyesight, and she was really terrified. And she somehow fell into this Jews for Jesus group out of Bel Air, and I literally got baptized in Bel Air. I remember it. I can feel the water on my head. It was, and I thought it was really cool. I love the whole community of it. I love the whole sort of the brotherhood of belief and faith in something, like the brotherhood we have about movies. Like there are all these different little cults that we belong to. I loved belonging to that cult. I love the community. I loved seeing them every Sunday. I love the experience. And then like suddenly you're like having ideas that don't relate to the rest of the cult. And then suddenly you realize, holy shit, I'm a black sheep. I need to get out of here. And you start to think, oh, it's only me that's bad.
Right.
And everyone else is good. And then you realize like, no, the pastor literally beat me one time. Like I was over playing with his sons at his house, and he literally beat me because I said something he didn't like. And then he would like yell at his wife. I mean, it was like ugly shit, and you're like, oh, so this is religion.
What, did he punch you?
He got on top of me and started hitting me. But I was like a difficult kid, but still, you don't do that.
You don't do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Jews for Jesus.
What do you think happens when you die? I'm so curious.
mean,
You're a writer. I'm sure you have a creative idea.
I don't know. That's the beauty, right? You don't know. That's the gorgeous unknowable of it all. Because I'm not religious, but I have definitely encountered things that are unexplainable to the mind in any kind of way. So I can't say nothing exists, and I can't say something exists, but I do know that I do believe that there's something beyond our comprehension that we can't comprehend with our little small pea brains.
Yeah. I don't know
what that is.
Yeah, I've been toying with different ideas. I have a certain idea. People on the podcast have heard this a million times. So I think that when you die, you are born again and relive your life over again, which explains why you don't remember being born, and which would also explain deja vu. So if you're like, man, I feel like I've done this before, maybe it's because you actually have. Maybe.
I mean, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, that certainly could
maybe
be
it's
possible.
just like a cycle.
All I know is that I've seen profound things that are just make the hairs on your arm stand up and like bring water into your eyes, and you feel like you're in the presence of something not human or not of this world, and you have that glimpse of, and I don't just mean like standing in the awe of nature. I mean something beyond the awe of nature, not just a gorgeous sunset in Malibu. I'm talking like you're feeling like the air shift in the room, and I've seen shit like that happen, like where you're like, holy shit, that light just grazed the side of that guy's head as it fell down on the soundstage. And he just happened to move 1/4 of an inch to the right.
Yeah.
Because like this butterfly effect, right? Like the beauty of existence, these things that are just, I don't know, these patterns and things. I don't know. There's some in logic to it all, but we can't possibly decode it. And I don't even like talking about it because I sound like a fucking idiot.
Life is so chaotic. It just is, and nothing really makes sense, and that's what the fun in life is. You know, you have to make your own sense of it.
Well, yeah, and that's the journey. You want to find the thing that you've never thought about before, the experience you've never had, the thing that makes you think differently about life, the lover, the book, the movie, the sound, the music, things that you know, just I don't know, you feel reborn again by.
Yeah. And by doing what you're doing, what I'm doing, you know, we're creating a ripple throughout time. So no matter what, we will always be present within this universe. You know, whether it's on YouTube or on the movie screen, on a VHS tape, wherever, on paper, you know, I think that's really important for people that want to do something but don't do it. They need to do it if they want to create that fingerprint and that ripple throughout time. If they want to make an impression on other people, you know, they have to actually be a presence within the world that they're living in, I think.
I go back and forth about that because I just go like, in 70 years, is there even going to be a planet to even leave
who knows?
A print on? But, and then the other hand, I'm just like, I just want to try to leave as much of a impression or goodness to the people while I'm here. I don't know about posterity.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, you know,
what does that
could
mean?
You know,
especially these days.
There could be an asteroid, and who knows when it would happen. There's actually, I think it was NASA. NASA just I don't know if they've launched it yet, but it's called the DART mission, and they're trying to see if they can knock an asteroid off its path. So just to test to see if they can actually do it, if an asteroid was approaching Earth. I think that's so cool.
I mean, it's incredible. And then also I'm like, let it hit Earth. I want to see that. Can you imagine?
That would be a hell of a time.
I mean, imagine. Talk about a cosmic experience.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Man, that would be just the most. Have you seen that new movie? What is it? Up in the Air? Or Don't Look Up. Don't Look Up.
Yeah. I really loved it.
I loved it. And I'm so happy that I loved it because, I mean, I actually knew it was going to be good. Mostly because Leo, come on. You love Leo, right? Everybody loves Leo.
Yeah, I do.
He's such a good actor. Like, What's Eating Gilbert Grape? Come on.
He's a phenomenal actor, but I felt Jennifer Lawrence anchored that movie.
Oh, yeah. She was great, too.
She was funny, witty, like dry, and just sexy, and just I just couldn't take my eyes off of her.
Yeah,
I thought she was the nucleus of that movie. It's interesting how many people have like issues with it because it's tonally all over the place.
But wait, don't spoil it though. Just
I'm
in
not.
case. Okay.
Tonally, that's what I
Yeah.
love. I love things that are like funny and then sad and then really scary and then really fun and then like let
Yeah.
that be. And that movie was unafraid of that.
Very
So I loved it.
entertaining.
I also actually I was watching Yellow Jackets last night, and I'm on the 7th and 8th episode. And I was like, thank you. They have like this amazing sequence to Prodigy, Smack a Bitch Up. I think that's the song. And they're like, it's Juliette Lewis and Melanie Linsky like running, trying to shoot this guy. And you're just like, oh, this is delicious.
Whoa. Hold on. I'm on episode 4. Slow your roll.
Okay, well, and then it cuts to some horrifying scene. You're like, oh my God, a nice 90s throwback action sequence. Then a next sequence, there's a horror scene. And then the next sequence, there's this hot, cute, sweet high school romance moment. I'm like,
yeah.
The umami of it all. I live for that.
I love that. The umami. I love that. Do you like to cook?
I do.
You a chef?
I've been learning to cook during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But
what's your favorite thing to cook? What do you eat mostly?
God.
Like, what's the thing that you eat most?
When I cook is the question. Lately, I haven't been, but for the past 3 weeks, we've been cooking. I really like desserts because I'm obsessed with sweets and I love sugar. I had vowed not to have any more sugar at the beginning of the year, and I've already had like pancakes with maple syrup and like. Anyway, what did I really love making during the pandemic that was really good? I made these insane, really delicious cauliflower tacos.
Do you not eat gluten?
And no, I do, but I tended to. I wasn't eating fishes. I mean, meat is. I don't eat any red meat, and so those are really good. And I made this phenomenal guacamole that went with it. I just have to say it was really good. And then I like a lot of Middle Eastern and sort of coast of Turkey and Israeli, like that area of like region of food. I love like cooking in that sort of region. I really love that. I do a lot of stuff with those flavors, whether it's with hummus and olives and cheese, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I love baking. My dad always would have these carob milkshakes when I was a kid in Malibu at the John's Garden. They would make them, and carob is like for health nut. It's like the alternative chocolate. And my grandmother always loved carob.
I was going to say, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say it should have been like a pea. Like pea soup, well, because of Exorcist.
My grandmother would also do that. She would make pea soup. And I just love that flavor of carob, and you can't find it anywhere. But I've been obsessed. So now I've been making these carob cookies.
Are you saying carrot or carabin?
Carob.
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 Okay, I thought you said carrot.
No, carrot cookies. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe if you think maybe. So I made those batch for my brother and my nephew, who we spent New Year's Eve with in the desert for a couple of days, and those were a big hit. I love making, I think I love the performance and the presentation and the theatricality of like a dessert.
Yeah.
And the excitement of it. So I love all of that in terms of preparing and entertaining as well as cooking. I could go on and on and on.
No, I love to cook as well.
What's your best dish?
Well, now it's different. So, with my New Year's resolutions, first of all, I'm not drinking alcohol in 2022, which is, I think, going to be.
Oh, that wasn't moonshine? I thought there was moonshine in that.
Yeah. I'm just drinking a big old bottle of gin.
Okay.
No, it's water. Has nothing to do with cooking, but I'm also not eating gluten, which, I've actually found that it's not that hard. I've been, just eating gluten-free bread, which is pretty good if you toast it. But I love making stews, like beef stews.
Yeah.
But I eat a lot of red meat. You don't eat red meat.
You live in Texas.
I live in Texas. Yeah.
Are you from Texas?
I am. Yeah.
What part?
San Antonio.
Okay.
Yeah. I was going to move to California a while back, but I ended up not for reasons I can't explain. But yeah, I'm all over the place with cooking. Like, I love pasta dishes. I love cooking Italian stuff. I eat a lot of Thai food. I think I eat more Thai food than anything. Like, I love curry. It's like one of my favorite things in the world.
So good.
I mean, I haven't eaten tonight, so I'm like super hungry now that we're even talking about it. I'm like, man, should I order some Thai food?
I know. I haven't eaten today hardly either. I should order some food too.
I had soup for
I'm
lunch
not going to
today.
cook tonight. I just drove into town and I'm going to just chill and yeah.
You gonna watch
I have
anything?
to figure that out. I don't know because I'm not supposed to really be in town today. It's a whole long, stupid story, but I gotta reconfigure my evening. But I want to watch. I watched The Lost Daughter last night, which was so good. Maggie Gyllenhaal, bow down. She killed it. Her first directorial movie. She wrote and directed it. It's got great tension. I mean, it's unnerving. And it's relentless. And Olivia Colman, Dakota Johnson's amazing in it. It's just like one of these like strange little, psychological horror movies in a way, even though there's no like blood in it. I mean, but it's the expectation that something horrible is going to happen on every turn. And it doesn't quite ever go where you think it's going to go. Yeah. And yet it has this interesting sort of portrait of the madness of motherhood. Which I think is really fascinating.
I saw, I was going through Netflix last night, and you know how whenever you scroll over something, it plays like a little trailer. I saw it. I didn't know what it was, and I just like kept going. But I'll check it out. Yeah,
check it out. You have to. It doesn't come to you easily, and I don't know if it's for everybody, But some people might think it's pretentious. Some people might think it's bolt flat. I was riveted.
Yeah, I've been trying to not watch TV, and I've been trying to learn how to do new things, which is like weird. I think it's because I'm not like drinking any alcohol, so now my mind is like racing all the time. So I've been learning how to make 3D models on my computer and animating them. Cool. Yeah, so I've been just like consuming myself with making these 3D artworks, and I'll show you one right now. So last night I made this, and out of scratch. I made it from nothing. I made an old Macintosh computer deconstructed. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, that is really cool.
Yeah, so it's like deconstructed, and I made all of that just from nothing.
That's really rad.
Yeah. Oh. And so
I think it's really important to learn new skills and do other things. Every year it's like good to learn like 3 new things.
Yeah. And so I was like doing this, and like when I first started, like my brain hurt. I was like, holy shit. But I mean, if you watch YouTube, you can follow along and do anything. I was like, this is something I really want to do. This is like a craft that I could use in the industry. Like I could make logos for companies or do whatever. It doesn't matter. I could just have fun doing it. And my son Fox, he's like, Daddy, this is so cool. And I was like, I know. And that's what I wanted. I wanted my son to think it was cool, and I succeeded.
So how old's your kid?
He's 5. So I have 3 kids. I have twins that are 5. And then I have Maverick is 2 years old.
Very cool. I love that name, Fox.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fox Mulder.
Name. That's so cool. That's so cool.
Do you have any kids or?
No, I'm just a lonely gay without any family. No, I'm kidding. I do not have kids yet, but the good thing about being in a same-sex relationship is that there's no clock. Mm-hmm. But then the downside of that is you just keep waiting. And you know how it is when you don't put a clock on something, then it just keeps getting extended and extended and extended. And then you're like, does it ever happen? So I'm a little bit in that like phase right now where like it's just like extending and maybe not going to happen. So I kind of have to give myself a deadline.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of friends. I have 3 best friends, and they're my only friends. And
that's like all you need. If you have 3 best friends.
And so I was like, what if something happens to them? I have to create my own friends. So, I just made 3 more.
It's so weird. I selfishly, you know what? Well, it's so consoling to hear that you literally had my train of thought. And I thought I was like terrible for having that. Yeah. Like I thought, oh my God, you're so awful, because I had the same thought. It was like, well, what if X, Y, and Z dies, and then X, Y, and Z dies, and then another X, Y, and Z? I'm like, I won't have anybody. Oh shit!
Yeah.
I need to create friends and
You
family.
need friend insurance. That's your kids.
The thing is, I have so many. Like, I have such a wide network of friends and people. I mean, whether I call them best friends, no, but like, I definitely have, like, I know a lot of people, so that's not the problem. Sometimes too much. But I definitely think about, oh, it's Christmas, and what if X, Y, and Z were dead, and I better, like you just said, create some
3D model kids. That's what, you know what I'll do for you?
3D model
That's
kids.
what I'm going to do for you. Since I'm learning how to make 3D models, I'm going to make some children.
You're going to make a kid for me?
I'm going to make a kid for you, and I'm going to send you a kid.
I mean, it might be cheaper because, it's a lot of coin to grow your own kid.
Yeah.
You got to get the surrogate.
I know.
You got to get the egg. It's a whole thing.
Yeah. No, I know. I think it's like $25,000.
Why can't I just find a girl who wants to, hello, anyone out there? Why can't I just find a girl who wants to co-parent with us?
It's like that movie, The Switch.
Switch.
Yeah, the one with Jason Bateman and Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Okay, so Jennifer Aniston wants to have a baby, but she's not in a relationship.
I'm Jennifer Aniston in this.
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
Jason Bateman's her best friend, and he's like, "Why would you do that? Like, why not wait for the right guy? Like, what if you meet the right guy and you're pregnant?" And she's like, "I don't care. I want a kid." So she has, and actually, Juliette Lewis is in it too, but she has a party, like a get pregnant party, and a bunch of sperm donors come, and she picks one of them, and he jizzes in a cup in the bathroom. Jason Bateman gets drunk. He goes in the bathroom, swaps it with his sperm. 7 years later, it's a good movie.
That's fucked up.
It's fucked up. Yeah, and then he's so drunk that night he doesn't remember. And so 7 years later he remembers. He's like, oh shit, because the kid is so much like him. He has like the same tics as him and stuff. And he tells her, and she freaks out. And I'm like, man, imagine that conversation. Hey, by the way, I switched the sperm. That's oh my God, you ruined my whole fucking life. But at the same time, thank you, because I love this kid. Wow.
True. So there's that too, right? So he redeems himself.
I'm a sucker for those movies, though. I love romantic comedies so much. Man, Sleepless in Seattle.
When's the last good one, though? That's the problem.
There's not a lot of good ones. I love the ones with Matthew McConaughey. I'm such a
Well, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days?
Yeah, like that. And I mean, obviously, our boy Todd did Isn't It Romantic? We got to give him a little shout out there. But yeah. I watched You've Got Mail recently. Oh, man, what a good movie.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen You Got Mail?
No, I don't know why. It just...
Please watch it.
Oh, okay.
You'll love it. Tom Hanks is in it.
I can't promise. Who?
Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
Meg Ryan.
I like him. I do like Meg Ryan. I love When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
That was, to me, a beautiful, beautiful movie. The music, Terry Connick Jr.'s soundtrack, all that jazz, and the standards are so good. And the writing, is it Nora Ephron who wrote it?
I don't know.
It's Nora Ephron. So brilliant. Oh, my God.
Forget Paris is good, too. That has Billy Crystal, too.
Is that Larry Kasdan? Did he write that?
I don't know, but Billy Crystal's in that one as well.
Is it Deborah Winger?
It's kind of like a similar movie.
But is it Deborah Winger and Billy Crystal?
I can't remember. It's really funny. It's is that Deborah Winger? Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. And it's got guy, what's his name? William Hickey. He's the old guy in Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, he's so good. And in Prince's Honor.
Yeah.
Another underrated movie that people never talk about. I think it was one of John Huston's last movies. Such a good film. Jack Nicholson, Angelica Houston, Kathleen Turner. Oh, so good.
What movie? Sorry.
Prince's Honor. It's like this. Honor. Yeah.
I've never seen it. How have I never seen this? I've never even heard of this movie. I feel like you just conjured that movie. and it's never
I
existed
didn't.
before
It
now.
exists. I remember it.
Are you the creator of this simulation? Did you just create this? Well,
Okay, now you got me
Prince's
thinking
honor.
about Thai food.
Yeah, me too. I'm starving. I'm gonna let you go. I want to know if you want to pitch anything before you go. Do you have any projects that you're about to release that you can talk about, or no?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, the Georgetown Project, which will probably change its title, is a movie that I co-wrote with my partner that I directed. Um, Russell Crowe's in it. He plays the lead. David Hyde Pierce, Sam Worthington. It's a really cool psychological gem of a story of a man losing his mind,
Oh, I
or
love
is
that.
he?
I can't wait to see that.
And it's this sort of statement about the madness of filmmaking and the obsession and how we obliterate ourselves in creation. That's sort of like the themes of it, but that's not really like the story per se on the surface. It's a lot more like simple and a lot more just like, your horror scenarios, but those are the ideas behind it, and I hope we get to finish it. I'm sure we will.